top today. But smaller privately held businesses are also doing well, thanks in part to this renewed consumer confidence report that is much higher. Joining me now is Brian Hamilton, CEO of Sageworks, a firm that collects and analyzes data from over 1,000 private small companies daily. All right, Brian, this consumer confidence number was a surprise that it was so high this morning. How do you make of this? I mean, last month it was terrible, and this month it's great.
Well, it's a great question, but remember, it's consistent with the data that we're gathering, Chris. Over the last 12 months, most privately held companies in the U.S., and remember, there's 27 million of them, are doing well, so we're not surprised by that.
You know, one of the things you noted in your data that you've been able to mine is higher profits per employee. What does that say about how efficient these small businesses are becoming, and is that a leading indicator in terms of future hiring?
Yeah, great find. It's an amazing stat, isn't it? 10 years ago, average profit per employee was about $10,000. Average profit per employee now is about $15,000. Companies are making more dollars per employees. But remember, you know, there's three kinds of lies. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. We've got to be careful. A couple of years ago, the revenues of these companies went down. So just because the profit per employee is up doesn't mean they're out of the woods. You know,
we've talked about holidays and how all these stores are giving great deals and come on in. But then there's the concern about margins. What are you seeing, at least in the early part of holiday shopping, that is either helping or hurting these small businesses in their margins?
Well, the net margins are up. Profits are up, net margins are up, revenues are up. All the data, and we look at this very carefully because when it's consistent data, we learn a lot, Chris. All the data is going up. So it's very favorable, no question. Now, one thing, and you know this, past is not always prologue. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but year-to-date numbers are very solid. They really are.
What do you make of Small Business Saturday? A lot was being made of that. Are there lasting effects? Because if it's just one day, it's not really going to help that much. But do you think that there'll be lasting effects from that day that'll carry throughout the rest of the holiday season and even into next year?
Hard to say, but let me go this way on it. The data has been so consistent over the last 12 months that we would be surprised at Sageworks if revenue went down. So it's a back end to your question, but the point is the numbers are going up this year, things are going well, so we think that'll continue.
Well, let's look forward to 2012. You know, we talk to a lot of equity analysts that talk about big business and who's hiring. What about small business moving in the next year? What are some of the sectors?
Yeah, well, that's the big question. You know, great question, because remember, there is a difference between revenue growth and hiring. We don't know when these 27 million companies are going to start hiring people. We just know that they're doing better. And there are historical precedents when there's a big lag between GDP growth and hiring. However, the question's a good one. Technology services, information services, healthcare services, these are businesses that are growing a lot. Even the furniture sector, by the way, which is not small, even that's going up right now. So those are areas where jobs are being created or probably will be created.
You know, real quickly on this, Brian, when I think of healthcare, information services, technical services, I think of big companies. I mean, information, I think of Qualcomm and Intel and IBM. I don't think of small businesses. Are those sectors that are growing and are in the small business arena?
Yeah, they are. And remember, another excellent point, there's 27 million privately held companies in the country, right? There's only about 5,000 or 6,000 publicly traded firms. The vast majority of economic activity is generated by small privately held companies. So we've got to look at those ones. It's important to follow market trends. You guys do a good job with that. You know, what price is up, what price is down. But basically, private companies generate jobs and economic activity.
And that's why we have you on, and that's why we'll have you on again, Brian. Thank you, sir. Great information as always.
Good to be here.
All right, Brian Hamilton from Sageworks. Lori?
Interesting.